Imagine, if you will, a zone where animals can talk to humans.
Submitted for your amazement,
The Pet Psychic, as we enter the Animal Zone. Welcome back to Animal Zone. I'm Arthur von Wiesenberger with the beautiful Laura Stinchfield, the Pet Psychic, here today with Nicolette at the Wild to Willing Horsemanship, a wonderful nonprofit that I gather you rescue Mustangs, amongst other things.
We do.
And we have one here. Tell us a little bit about Charley.
Charley came from Nevada originally. He was a Nevada range wild horse. He lived in the wild until he was somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 years old, a little bit over a year ago. And he was brought to the Litchfield holding facility in a roundup, and he was castrated there, and I was the fortunate one who found him and adopted him from the Litchfield BLM holding facility.
Do you want to tell them what a roundup is? For people who don't know?
There's wild horses that live out in different rangelands of our country, and they go and the BLM is in charge of managing those lands, and they will round up these wild horses by helicopter into corrals and pens, and then take them from there to other holding facilities.
And they can be separated from their families.
They're separated, and
very
it's a very
scary
traumatic
situation.
experience.
Sounds like it would be
And
very
sometimes
scary.
they're in the holding facilities for life.
Right.
And it looks like Charley got a tattoo here from
Yes.
BLM, right?
Yes.
So it identifies?
Yes. I'm not exactly sure how it reads, but it identifies, I believe, where he came from and his background.
Wow. So he's gone from a kind of a rough past to paradise.
Yeah. The BLM facilities, they do a good job, but it's still just a corral out in the middle of,
So maybe Laura can find out what Charley is thinking about.
So Charley, honey, what do you want to say? Is there anything that you want to tell people about the roundup or things that you've learned? Because you were wild for like 5 years before you came to know people. What do you want to talk about? He wants to tell people that it's a real problem out there. What's a real problem? The way they treat horses. The way they treat horses and the way you're separated from your herd. He goes, oh, it's not like a pretty kind of scenery. Oh, he says that what's really scary about it is that you have to run so fast from the helicopters that many horses have heart attacks. And they fall and they break their legs. And you have to run. I start to cry. Sorry. He says you have to keep running over your friends. So what happens when I cry, it's like their emotion goes through me. So like it's a sad story, but to the extent of what I cry is his pain of the memory of it. He says he misses a lot of his friends. Well, you know how I talk to you, you can talk to those friends. So you gotta just put it out. I do, and it's not all of them are happy. He says he does, and not all of them are happy. He says some of them are still there, and he said some of them are not being treated nice. He says, but to make this a good story, I, meaning him, found a really loving home. He says that Nicolette is very brave. He says that she takes the time to focus on every horse, and that with her, every horse is an individual. And he says it's so important to take your time. He says that he really wants to talk about fear. He feels that fear is something that everybody deals with at some point. And he says that he has some advice. He says that whenever you're scared, to just be patient with yourself and find out what are you scared of. And then you're able to deal with it. Because sometimes you're scared of something made up, and he says, and sometimes you're scared of something very real. He says, and if you're scared of something very real, you better take the time to figure it out, because otherwise you might fall and break your leg. He says that he wants to say another thing about Nicolette's way of training. He says that she asks you to do something, meaning the horses, and then she waits and she watches to see it happen. Like she gives me time to figure it out. She gives them time to figure it out. And a lot of trainers don't do that. They think you should be faster thinking. But fast thinking is not always smart. He says humans move way too fast. He says Nicolette moves slow, but everything's on purpose. And when you're on purpose, things turn out better. Those are some words of wisdom.
Those are really wise Mustang. Wow. That's amazing.
He's, to my knowledge, the wisest horse I've ever met.
Well, thank you, Nicolette. And what an honor to be here with both of you. This is really touching. And I think it will mean a lot to all of us and to our viewers. And I think we'll all have a big cry now, and we'll take a break, and we'll be right back after these words.